Hey, thanks for going down the road with me, Joel Heitkamp. It's election night, election day. Now we're sliding into election night, so we'll start getting some of those results to you. I'm not sure if we'll get them to you during this hour, but I do know this. You're not far away. You're not far away. Right now it's 6:30 on the East Coast. Many of those polling places close at 8 o'clock. So you're going to start getting some results. Some of them close at 7 o'clock. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about is the fact that a lot of the states have different rules. A lot of the states, because it's left to the states. You've got federal elections. You've got federal elections, and those federal elections are completely ruled by the states. Don't get it? Don't understand it. You would think the federal government would have one game plan. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy over what's going to happen in this race. You know, should the ballots be counted right away? Should the ballots not be counted right away? So if there was a federal guideline, a federal set of rules that the state had to adhere to, I'm not so sure we wouldn't all be better off and the arguing would be done. Now, there's some key races that I want to point out to you that we're going to take a look at tonight. Not the least of which, of course, is the presidential race. The presidential race is a race that everybody, this whole election has not been about Joe Biden. It has not been about any of those down ballot races. This whole election has been about Donald Trump. That's what the election's been about. This election has been about whether or not we want to keep Donald Trump as our president for 4 more years. When they go into the ballot and they pull that lever, and they're pulling that lever for president, they're not saying, okay, well, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Donald Trump. They're strictly voting on Donald Trump. Do you want him gone? Do you want him in? And, of course, we don't know the answer to that. I can walk you through the pathway of what he's going to have to do in just a little bit. But one of the things that we haven't paid a lot of attention to is those key Senate races. The races that, in the end, whoever is president is going to have to deal with the United States Senate. The United States Congress, the House, well, that's going to stay Democrat. Even the Republicans are predicting that that's going to stay Democrat. In fact, they might even pick up a couple seats. So we need to take a look at some of these Senate races. We've got Tina Smith versus Jason Lewis. Now, this is Minnesota, and there's a lot of people that thought this race was a blowaway, that it was a complete, okay, what's going to happen in this race? Tina's already got it. There's a lot of people who say Jason Lewis has filled that gap in, and ran a very aggressive campaign at the end. He clearly has used the model and the strategy of Donald Trump. I mean, that's his game plan here. Minnesota, at least western Minnesota and northern Minnesota, like Donald Trump, so why wouldn't I use that? Let's go to Montana. Steve Daines, the incumbent, versus Steve Bullock. Now, there's a lot of our viewers right now that have been flooded, absolutely flooded with the ads in western North Dakota and eastern Montana in relation to this race. How's that race going to shake out? If I had to predict, I think that's one of the biggest sleepers of the night. That's going to be one of the biggest surprises of the night. I think Bullock wins that race. And I'm not just saying it because I'm a Democrat. In Arizona, Martha McSally versus Mark Kelly. This one I'm having a hard time figuring out because of this. Martha McSally lost in her Senate bid. And then the governor appointed her to be the senator based upon the death of John McCain. Why would you appoint, if you're a Republican governor, somebody who just lost? I don't get that. I don't get that. Mark Kelly, astronaut, husband of a victim of a shooting. Mark Kelly's going to win that race, and he's going to win that race big. We could talk about Texas. That's a throwaway one. We could talk about Alabama. That's a throwaway one. In Texas, it's going to go red. I believe in Alabama, it's going to go red. But let's take a look at Georgia, and let me explain a couple things to Georgia to you. David Perdue versus John Ossoff. Ossoff, a very aggressive Democrat running against Perdue. Nasty debate. Absolutely nasty debate that took place. He basically, Ossoff looked at Perdue and called him a liar and said he's on the take. He did it about that rude. But the thing about Georgia you have to keep in mind is they have to have a majority. So the presidential election could actually go, and by majority I mean over 50%. The presidential election, because neither one of them might reach 50%, could go on through almost January, if I remember right. So here we sit, not all campaigns done. And of course, when I say the presidential race, because the president will get involved. And the one that got beat might get involved because it will have a lot to do with the majority in the Senate. I want to take a look at South Carolina. Lindsey Graham versus Jamie Harrison. Lindsey Graham, this was supposed to be no contest whatsoever. It was supposed to be one of those races where Lindsey Graham just glides in, slides in. This is a man who, on a national stage, everybody knows the name, everybody knows him. He's been on every Sunday morning show you can possibly on. Always gives you that quote, right? That's the problem with Lindsey Graham. He gave quotes, and those quotes are coming back to bite him. Perfect one, the Supreme Court. You know, he did the read my lips, George H.W., and it was about as truthful because Lindsey Graham lied. He absolutely lied about what he would do if a Supreme Court vacancy opened up, and he did just the opposite. People in North Carolina didn't like it. And, of course, they want a senator that's going to focus on home. I'm not saying that Lindsey Graham doesn't win this race. I'm saying that it ended up closer than it ever should have been. And it's definitely one you want to keep your eye on. Let's go to North Carolina. Cal Cunningham versus Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis, the incumbent Republican. When you look at Cal Cunningham, in the middle of this whole race, there was a sex scandal. You know, but you know, Cal Cunningham is in the lead. And he's the one that wasn't behaving so good. Imagine that. I mean, I'm wondering if these sex scandals have as big of an influence as what they used to, or if it's just Tom Tillis is one of those individuals that they don't want there. North Carolina has been sliding and been going more, I don't want to say, it's been purple, and now it's sliding into that blue. And that's a little bit surprising because there's been a lot of growth in the urban areas. And so don't bet against Cal Cunningham tonight on that race. And, of course, that would be a flip. Let's go to Michigan. Gary Peters versus John James. Now, Gary Peters is the incumbent. He's a Democrat, and he is in the race of his life. John James, I think he's been working his butt off. Gary Peters, very similar to what we saw in North Carolina. You've got a candidate that in Michigan, which is a blue state, thought he could glide to a victory, and I don't know if it's going to happen. I really don't know if it's going to happen. I think John James might pull off the upset there. Let's go to Maine. Susan Collins versus Sarah Gideon. Susan Collins was one of those individuals that was untouchable a year ago, 2 years ago. Very popular, very middle of the road. And then the Kavanaugh vote happened. And Susan Collins stood and completely contradicted herself when it came to Kavanaugh. She said, I can see both sides, and both sides are right. Well, when you're elected to do something and you've got to pick a side, I doubt you're going to say both sides are right. Either one side's wrong and the other side's right, or vice versa. But Susan Collins voted with the majority, and quite frankly, she's in that caucus. Now, this time around, when it came to Comey Bears, what happened is she voted with the minority on that. So, again, is that going to help her in Maine? I don't know. I can tell you this. By all polling, Sarah Gideon is in the lead. So that's another gain for the Democrats if they get it. Now let's go to Iowa. Joni Ernst and Teresa Greenfield. Teresa Greenfield is Joni Ernst is the incumbent. And she ran all over the country because she was that popular Republican that worked on campaigns here and there and did what she needed to do for the caucus. Remember the race 6 years ago when Joni Ernst was talking about castrating hogs? Do you remember that? That made a lot of national news. That's who that was. That was Joni Ernst. Now, one of the big problems that she has was in a debate that took place, and she was asked the price of a bushel of soybeans. You know, she's played that I'm a farm girl, I understand ag. She couldn't answer it. In fact, what she answered dollar-wise was what the price for a bushel of wheat was. And that bit her. Now, since then, she's brought the poll numbers back. Since then, you'd have to put this one maybe a little bit more Ernst than what you would Greenfield. But it comes down to getting out the vote. And that's one of the and one of the sleepers tonight I want you to watch is in Alaska, Dan Sullivan versus Al Goss. Now that one is a real sleeper. We're talking about independent versus a Republican. We're talking about the independence of Alaska. Now whether or not something happens there, that's left to be seen. But the point that I've tried to build to here is that if you look at these races and you look at the national pundits, one of the things that you're going to see is you're going to see them predicting the Democrats taking over the Senate. And so whichever presidential candidate wins tonight, they're going to have to deal with a Democratic House and potentially and possibly a Democratic Senate, which means that all roads go through one party when it comes to getting any policy done, when it comes to getting any funding done. So it's something for you to really keep your eyes on tonight. Now, key House races, I'll go over them with Tyler Axness in a little bit. We'll get a chance to talk about which states to take a look at, which states that are really key. I'll give you a little hint. If Florida goes Biden, go to bed. If Florida goes Biden, the race is over. You might say, really, Joel? I mean, there's 49 other states. Trust me. If Florida goes blue, the race is over. And I think the president knew that, and he knows that. He pushed hard in Florida, did a bunch of rallies in Florida, as did his opponent, Joe Biden. But in the end, I think Florida is this toss-up. And if you look at voter turnout, it's just been immense when it comes to Florida. So when we come back, what are we going to do? We're going to get a chance to visit with Tyler Axness, former state senator and political pundit, right after this.
As the mayor of Bismarck, I invite you to join together today and stand united in the fight to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Case counts are steadily on the rise in the Bismarck-Mandan metro area, so please do your part. Protect yourself and others by wearing a mask when you're not at home. During the pandemic response, scientists have determined wearing a mask is a benefit to you and to those around you. This help keeps others from getting sick and may lessen the severity of illness if you were infected with COVID-19. We're all in this together. So let's get kids back to school, preserve our local economy, and keep our community strong. Let's show everyone how we come together to keep Bismarck the safe, resilient community we know and love. For more information, visit health.nd.gov/coronavirus. That's health.nd.gov/coronavirus.
Beck Communications is honored to be recently recognized with 3 Broadband Now awards. Beck Communications Cooperative was awarded in the categories of Top Internet Speeds Nationwide, Top 3 Fastest Internet Providers in North Dakota, and North Dakota's #1 fastest fiber provider. It's only through the support of our members and customers that Beck Fiber delivers award-winning speeds and service. Thank you, Beck Communications Cooperative members and customers, for your years of continued support.
Introducing Accord Comfort Sleep Systems, a better way to sleep. We offer you 5 different models to give you the perfect choice of support and body comfort. Every model begins with our exclusive Accord Comfort Reflex Layer. This ensures proper spinal alignment and a deep down body relief. Our 8-inch Whisper Breeze provides a medium firm feel, and our 10-inch Gentle Night model has a quilted top, giving you a medium plush comfort. Both use Outlast fabric on the top of your mattress, ensuring that your body temperature is not too hot and not too cold. Our Copper Rest Sleep Series is our premier mattress, offering your choice of firm, plush, and luxury plush. Every model uses copper-infused gel latex and provides all the health benefits of copper. Accord Comfort mattresses are handcrafted in the USA and come with a 60-night sleep guarantee. You're going to love sleeping with us. Order today exclusively at accordsleep.com or Tom's Home Furnishings in beautiful downtown Harvey.
Is your business phone system outdated and expensive to maintain? Most large VoIP companies leave you on hold or struggling through online support and training for your employees. With Beck Connect, you always have fast, friendly, local support. Familiar faces with the know-how to keep you connected. Take advantage of the newest technology in voice calling, video conferencing, and virtual meeting rooms. Beck Connect gives you all the features you need with no upfront investment and no obsolete hardware or software ever again. Simplify your communications. Choose local. Choose Beck Connect.
Welcome back to Down the Road with me, Joel Heitkamp, on the busiest night of what is this long election cycle. Ken Martin is good enough to give us some time, and I really appreciate that. Ken is chairman of the Minnesota DFL party. Ken, good to have you on Down the Road.
Hey, thank you so much, Joel. I'm so glad to be here. What an exciting night.
Yeah, really. Minnesota is a state that everybody's looking to as though it's some swing state. As somebody who was born in Minnesota and lives next to Minnesota, I'm not sure it is, but I'm curious what you think.
Well, we'll certainly know tonight. Of course, people think it's a swing state because of how close it was in the 2016 elections, where Donald Trump just narrowly lost Minnesota, 1.5 points, 44,000 votes. The sixth closest margin in the whole country was right here in Minnesota. And of course, people tend to think it means that it's a swing state. But I'll tell you, in 2018, we had a tremendous election here. We swept all the constitutional offices, won seats up and down the ballot here in Minnesota. And so, you know, we'll see tonight, of course, the ultimate decider on whether or not it's a swing state is the people and the voters. And we still got a couple hours left with the polls open, and we're going to do everything we can over these next 2 hours to get the vote out.
So what are you seeing, Ken? Voter turnout, is it looking good? I know there's been a lot of early voting in Minnesota.
Well, there has been 1.85 million people to be exact, which is an all-time record. There was about 650,000 early votes in 2016, and we've almost tripled that. It's really, we have tripled that. It's just amazing. The turnout here, you know, and across the country, we've seen over 100 million people that have early voted right now. It is amazing what we're seeing around the country and here in Minnesota. Look, you know, young people are helping to fuel that. 24% of the early vote is young people. And astoundingly to me is 26% of the early vote here in this state is people who didn't even vote in 2016. Think about that. That is an amazing number. And if that holds true throughout the night here in Minnesota and around the country, I think we're going to have a good night as Democrats.
You know, I've been making the argument, and I've been doing this for quite some time now, that this election is about one and one thing only. It's about whether or not we want to keep Donald Trump as president. That when people go in, sure, they're looking at Joe Biden and they're making their case on Joe Biden. But in the end, it's really coming down to Donald Trump. And so when you look at those high voter turnout numbers and you look at the age of what some of those individuals are that are turning out early, you know, party chairman like yourself, one of your goals has always been to get young people out to vote. And I think Donald Trump has done some of that for you along with your hard work.
Well, look, I've always said this, and this isn't to take anything away from Joe Biden or Kamala Harris because they're fantastic candidates. But I said this starting 4 years ago, that the great unifier in the Democratic Party is Donald Trump. He's brought our party together like no one else could. He certainly galvanized, whether it's young voters, older voters, communities of color, independent voters, you name it. Our party is really gelled together in ways that I haven't seen in some time. And there's no doubt what's fueling that is a deep desire to see change in this country and to end this long national nightmare. But you can't also underestimate how excited people are for the ticket that we have. And, you know, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were the right ticket for the right time. And boy, I know this country is in desperate need of their leadership. And I'm certainly hopeful that that's what the vote will reflect tonight.
Ken, you got a Senate race. You got a Senate race with Tina Smith running against John Lewis. Now, John, I had him on my radio show. I've had Tina on my radio show a number of times. You know, with John, I'm just going to show my bias. You know, just such a I want to be macho, kind of an arrogant attitude. That's my bias. But you know what? A lot of people agree with me. Not the least is the woman vote. I mean, what he called women is unforgettable and unexcusable. How is that race breaking out? Did it get tighter at the end?
There's nothing that we've seen that would suggest that race has tightened up. Jason Lewis, along with Jim Hagedorn, along with Michelle Fischbach and other Republicans in this state have completely attached themselves at the hip with Donald Trump. And we like to call Jason Lewis the mini Trump because, you know, he was Trump before Trump was Trump in terms of offending women and the racist comments, the derogatory comments, the narcissism. You know, Jason Lewis has always been that way. And, you know, it's certainly for us, you know, in the upper Midwest and North Dakota and Minnesota, those aren't our values. I'm almost confident as I can be, that Minnesotans are going to send Tina Smith back to the U.S. Senate.
I kept thinking about my 5 granddaughters. For that matter, my 1 grandson, whether I'd want them to be around Lewis. And, you know, I kept coming up with a simple answer. No. No, I wouldn't want him to be around Jason
That's
Lewis.
a good choice.
Yeah, exactly. Talk to me about the Fishbach-Peterson race. Colin Peterson, you know, a congressman for a long time, chairman of the House Ag Committee. Talk to me about that.
Well, there's no doubt it's going to be a close race. The 7th Congressional District has changed. It's certainly gotten a little bit more a shade of red, but Colin Peterson's been able to win. As you know, it's the district in the country, the top congressional district for Donald Trump that's represented by a Democrat. It's a very conservative district. But Colin Peterson, the reason he wins is because he actually does his job. He represents the people that he serves. You know,
imagine that.
Well, yeah, and I wish there were more Colin Petersons out there, people who actually listened to their constituents and brought their concerns to Washington, D.C. And that's why I'm convinced he'll win. Look, it will be a tight race. There's no doubt about it. But Colin's done a great job. And boy, it would be a damn shame if this state got rid of Colin Peterson, because there's no more powerful member of our congressional delegation than Colin Peterson. And what he's done for people like my father-in-law, who's a farmer down in southern Minnesota, 800 acres of corn and beans and beef cattle. For people like him, Colin Peterson's been the champion for rural Minnesota and for rural America. It would be a damn shame if we lost him, but I think we're going to keep him in there. You know, we're so grateful that he's part of our delegation. You
know, the one thing I've learned about Colin Peterson is right about the time you think he's going to be beat, he wins. He finds a way to win. You know, and I think in Iowa, they copied me on my radio show. We've got 1 minute left here, but they asked Joni Ernst what the price of a bushel of soybeans was worth. She got it completely wrong. I did that with Michelle Fishbach, and she totally blew the answer. She had no idea.
Well, and that's your listeners should know, if they're still voting, don't vote for Michelle Bachmann, because she doesn't understand farming. She doesn't understand anything about their rural economy. And if you want someone who's going to be your champion, get out there and vote for Colin Peterson.
Yep, I would agree on Fishbach. I would totally agree. Ken, it's such a busy night for you, and you still gave us time here on Down the Road. Thank you. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just going to say it. Good luck. I wish you all the luck in the world tonight, okay?
We need it, my friend.
You bet. Ken Martin, ladies and gentlemen, chairman of the Minnesota DFL party. When we come back, my counterpart in radio, Tyler Axness. ND Explains, also a radio talk show host, and he's pretty bright. Let's visit with him right after this.
I just went in for a regular mammogram, and I found out that I had a little tumor.
Through the exam and the biopsy, it was determined that I had cancer.
I got a call from one of my doctors that I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
After 5 years, they found a local reoccurrence.
The first thing you hear when you're told you have a cancer, it's a little daunting because you don't know where to go with it.
Since 1999, in a partnership between CHI St. Alexius Health and Sanford Health Bismarck, the Bismarck Cancer Center has provided the most advanced radiation therapies and holistic support services for cancer patients and their loved ones for 20 years.
I've been at the Bismarck Cancer Center since it started. I actually was in the basement of Med Center 1 before, when we had old machines and old equipment. And thankfully, the two hospitals at the time, St. Alexius and Med Center 1, joined forces to create the Bismarck Cancer Center.
I walk in the door, I get nothing but hugs, and I was marveled at them. I mean, I thought it was the best place in the world.
The staff is unbelievably compassionate, and they explain everything to you.
Everybody's genuinely concerned about your well-being, and the level of care is just top-notch. The Cancer Center just does such an amazing job of helping people.
To me and my family, the Cancer Center means life. It's given me the ability to live out my life with my family, my wife, my children, my grandchildren.
Because of them, I'm 2 years out. Get to move on with my life, make a difference now for other people.
I would recommend this center because the minute you walk through that door, they've got your back.
This center means so much to me and to the people that are in this building, and we just want to keep giving it back to the community and providing for them what they need.
I'm Katie. I've been cancer-free for 2 years.
I'm Steve, and I've been cancer-free for 4 years.
I've been cancer-free for 10 years.
10 years.
11 years.
15 years.
My name is Lainey, and I've been cancer-free for 18 years.
Bismarck Cancer Center, your partner against cancer for 20 years.
Who do you trust with your digital life? Not all cloud backup providers keep your data truly private. Beck Cloud Backup uses advanced multi-layer encryption to keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business documents secure and only for your eyes. Your Beck Lightband Internet service already includes 50 gigs of free storage to keep your digital life safe and secure. Call us at 701-475-2361 to start using your Beck Cloud Backup today.
Welcome back to Down the Road. I asked a friend to stop in. He is the boss when it comes to ND Explains. In fact, I would encourage all of you to do the W and then go to ND Explains. You're going to find some absolutely great work there. And he's a radio talk show host. I get a chance to see him and work with him every day. Plus, he was an elected official. He served in the North Dakota State Senate. Tyler Axness, how you doing, bud?
Doing well, Joel. Thanks for having me over here.
It's election day.
It is, thankfully. Not that anybody was counting down days, weeks, hours, minutes, but it's finally here. And, you and I being in the media business, we appreciate the ads, but also we have to listen to the ads. and those will stop after today. So
doesn't it seem as though it took forever to get here?
It did. And I think that's a combination of the anticipation of everything that's been going on. You add a pandemic on to the uncertainty of everything, and this is the first time that I think people feel that there's something they can do. And that's just go out and vote. And now we're going to start counting those votes.
Let's go over some local races. Colin Peterson, does he hold that seat?
You know, if you would have asked me 2-3 months ago, I would have probably given you a different answer than what I'm feeling and what I'm hearing from people in the area right now. I think that Colin Peterson is in better shape tonight than he would have been three months ago. I think we're going to learn something tonight if there's a crossover vote, if that still is possible in American politics, of voting for Donald Trump in that district, voting for Colin Peterson. This is the toss-up congressional race, I think, of the entire nation right now.
You said it perfect, whether or not there's a crossover vote.
Right.
Because people have gotten so partisan. I think that the president has brought that out in people. I think he's caused the Democrats to be that way.
Right.
And I think that Colin Peterson could be the one right in the crosshairs on this.
Well, and I heard you with your last guest say, you know what, we've thought Colin was done a few races ago, and he keeps finding a way to win. And I get that sense that, again, this cycle, the closer we get to the deadline, the 8 o'clock closing of the polls, that Colin might be able to pull this out one more time.
I want to talk to you about the North Dakota measures. Measure 1, everybody knows Measure 1 wants to take the State Board of Higher Education and turn it into what, 50 people?
Just everybody gets a spot. You get a spot, you get a board spot. And the thing that's important about both these measures, Joel, is they weren't initiated by citizens. They're both put on the ballot by the legislature.
That's a good point.
And there has been very little talk of why either one of them should pass, which is enough for me to say, why vote for them then?
There has been enough controversy in higher ed. And I know they put a committee, they did some research on this, but expanding the board wasn't the focus.
No.
And taking that board and looking at how they can have certain individuals focus on, the 2 research institutions. Right. I mean, there were things that could have been changed here, and instead they tried to turn it into political patronage.
They did.
I can't figure it out.
Well, and you're right, because I visited with the legislators that were on that task force that the governor put together, said, all right, let's figure out something, because you're right, there's been a lot of controversy over the years when it comes to higher education in North Dakota. What that committee that worked so long on to figure out, here's some examples we think would work, thrown in the shredder, the legislature got back to Bismarck, said, we know better, and this is what they came up with. And even the governor himself to say, we don't need this. No. And you would think when you talk about patronage, well, the governor appoints, the Senate confirms, and if you've got the governor that could potentially hand out some political appointments, and he's saying, don't bother, says all you need to know about Measure 1.
So you're a no, I'm a no.
I'm
I
a
get
no.
that. Where are we at on Measure 2?
Measure 2 is a heck no. I'm not sure what regulations are over here, but
an absolute
it's
no?
heaven forbid, do not vote for Measure 2.
Yeah, you can cuss a little bit.
Okay,
Not a
well,
lot.
I never know where lines are. I don't want people calling into your producers here. But I've never seen a more arrogant approach by the legislature to tell you as a voter that you don't know what you're doing. These are the same people that they asked to vote up for themselves. Their whole disguise of this thing is, well, we need to, push back on out-of-state influence. Out-of-state money is what that means. Well, there's a dark money group that's funding all these campaigns on their own. They don't have a problem with that. And I know Ed Schaefer, former Republican governor, has come out strong. NDExplains.com, he submitted a column there saying why he opposes this, because it doesn't get to addressing the issue that the legislature is claiming it would do.
Did Governor Burgum take a position on this?
If he has, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, he did on Measure 1, and that was a no.
Yep, he did. And speaking of money and influence,
Right.
the Dakota Leadership PAC, he's put about $3 million into that, and they've
He
been
put $1 million into a local legislative race.
right.
And then the individual he supported died.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And now the individual that he spent that money to defeat might very well be back in the chair
What
of
do you think he's
appropriations.
going to think if he gets that seat back? It's a Republican district, District 8.
Yep.
Jeff Delzer, who's he wanted to toast. I mean, he wanted to get rid of him.
Right.
Jeff now could be appointed by the district if the individual that passed away wins, which there's been weirder things that happen. Jeff Delzer could have that district. They could appoint him, and here
I think
the
it's
governor sits.
it's likely to happen, and you got to take a step back to the last session in which the governor put out his budget recommendation. Jeff Delzer, the same individual we're talking about, grabbed it, threw it in the dustbin, and said, "We're going to start over on our own budget." I don't know what more he could do than what he's already done as far as trying to make it more difficult for Governor Burgum.
I can guarantee you this. If Jeff Delzer finds himself with one of those seats in the legislature again, he will be chairman of
He
appropriations.
will be, because Chet Pullert has already made it known that he was a Jeff Delzer fan before this whole June primary.
And I will guarantee you Doug Burgum will not like that if he's back in the governor's chair. Are there any statewide races you're looking to that, hey, the minority party could possibly eke out a win here?
Well, I think what you got to do is watch advertising where you got to watch where the dollars are spent, and that indicates to me that there's something going on in that treasurer's race. You've got Thomas Beadle, who, again, going back to the governor, the Dakota Leadership PAC with the millions of dollars he's put in there, all in on Thomas Beadle. He's a state representative from District 27 here in Fargo. On the Democratic side, you got Mark Haugen, who has picked up a lot of Republican endorsements.
He's endorsed by Senator Kevin Kramer's wife, Chris.
And that is so to have all these disingenuous political ads coming out saying that Mark Haugen's some liberal, while you've got Chris Kramer, Senator
The most
Kramer's
conservative person in North Dakota.
coming out and endorsing him, I think shows a lot. But this is the battleground for the North Dakota Republican Party, so that's why if they can pull enough Republicans, it's one to watch tonight.
All right, prediction. Your last $10 in your wallet, the last money you have.
Okay.
You cannot buy milk or bread if you get this one wrong, because you got to bet it. Who wins the presidency?
I think Joe Biden wins.
Why?
I do. I think that early vote is going to be speaking volumes. If we're talking about the number of people voting across this country as being predictive of 150, 160, 170 million people coming out and voting, and if you watch the Right Track, Wrong Track, I get the sense you don't have people coming out saying, you know what, I'm voting for 4 more years of this, especially with the young vote, the early vote. I've got to say that Joe Biden's eking it out in certain spots. I mean, I'm visiting with some of the people that, Texas is always that state that, Democrats will get it next cycle. They'll get it next cycle. There's a lot of hope out there. There's a lot of signals that after court cases have settled, that Texas might go blue this cycle.
The pathway for Donald Trump is, he's got to win out in some of these
Correct.
states. In the Southwest, he cannot lose Georgia. He cannot lose North Carolina, and he can't lose Florida. If people see Joe Biden win Florida, which we will find out who won it tonight, go to bed. Race is over.
Yeah, and right before I jumped on with you, I was watching some of the pollsters out there, and the gap on Election Day, as far as registered Republicans, registered Democrats, which you don't know who they're voting for once they're in that ballot box, the Democrats on Election Day were narrowing that gap.
Okay.
So
because everybody knows that the early vote was leaning Democrat, but the people in line to vote in Florida were voting Republican pretty strong today.
And you cannot deny the fact that Donald Trump's supporters will crawl over broken glass to go out and vote for him, and they're showing that today. The question is, is it going to be enough in those states that he absolutely needs to get across that finish line this time like he did 4 years ago?
Well, I think of those golf courses, though. If Florida just, goes for Joe Biden, Trump can golf every day. How's that?
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't be paying for it either.
Yeah, wouldn't that be perfect? I want to talk a little bit about some of the key Senate races that you're looking at. Give me some upsets. Give me some ones that you're looking at that you say, you know what, this one may shock some people.
I'm watching Montana, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm a Steve Bullock fan, the governor of Montana, but there has been, if anybody can show again that cross vote that has become so rare, well, Steve Bullock did that. People voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump, and they voted for Steve Bullock. I think that he's got an edge with the voting turnout in Montana being as high as it is compared to 4 years ago, that he's going to come out on top. The other one I'm looking at is Alaska. I've been hearing a lot of rumblings about the two individuals up there that, you got the insider that's on the Democratic-leaning side, and
he's an independent.
He's an independent,
Yeah.
which, if he was running as a Democrat, who knows how that party affiliation really pulls him down in a state like Alaska. But everything I'm seeing and hearing from people I know that know the state are saying, hey, this is one to watch up here.
I want your take on this, because I was sitting down at my desk today and I was going through all the different states and their rules when it comes to elections. This is a federal election. I realize part of it's state. We just talked about who wins that United States Senate race, but at least when it comes to the presidential vote, should a state legislature get to say, for example, that in one really big county in Texas, that we're going to have only one place you can drop your ballot off at? I mean, some of the things that have been done to kind of gerrymander and some of the things that have been done to discourage voting are about as un-American as you can get.
I was holding my breath over this weekend watching Texas. The Republican Party in Texas wanted a judge to throw out 120,000 votes that were cast legally set by the rules there that were drive-through voting. And thankfully, the courts come back and said, nope, every vote is going to count that was done this way. It shows to me that there's a fear among some of them out there that they would rather not have votes counted more than the whole voter fraud scheme that we've been hearing a lot about.
So you think blue wave?
As of right now, as you and I are talking, that's the indication I'm getting.
You think, with everything you predicted and with, we're both Democrats, I get that. But if we win the presidency, if Joe Biden finds himself as president, if we're sitting there and the Democrats have the Senate and we know they're going to keep the House, does the era of Donald Trump and what Donald Trump did to the Republican Party, do they take a step back and say, what the heck did we do?
I don't think it's as simple as that, Joel. I think there's going to be a few years while they try to pick up and figure out what went wrong.
Well, I still think they're in fear. They're in fear of them. Thank you, Tyler. Thanks for popping by. We'll check all this out later. I want to let you know we're going to head to Iowa. That's right, the president of the Iowa Farmers Union right after this.
Bismarck Central, 4800.
4800, go ahead.
Requesting social services on-call team.
Stand by. 4800 social services requesting additional information.
You can advise social services that we have an 18-month-old female who was in a residence with a mother, now being transported to medical care for overdose.
Trusting your digital life to faceless tech giants can be risky. Will they keep your family and business information truly safe from prying eyes? If you subscribe to local Beck Lightband internet service, you already have Beck Cloud Backup. Beck Cloud Backup is the safest, most private cloud storage for all your family memories, schoolwork, and business documents. Call 701-475-2361 to start using your free space on Beck Cloud Backup today.
You just might find the home of your dreams this weekend by watching the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes Sundays at 6 p.m. and Wednesdays at 7 on Beck. featuring properties from Bismarck, Mandan, Minot, and surrounding areas. The Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes presents desirable properties that are for sale, lets you meet your Alliance realtors, and provides critical insights into local happenings from community and business leaders. Join us this Sunday evening at 6 or Wednesday at 7 for the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes on Beck.
Today's households have more digital devices than ever before. More links to family, business, education, and entertainment. Beck Communications spent over 10 years building North Dakota's fastest fiber optic internet service. Beck Lightband Internet, outpacing speeds in large cities nationwide. Lightband Internet handles all your digital needs without throttling your connection to the world. Beck Communications, valuable digital connections in rural North Dakota.
As the mayor of Bismarck, I invite you to join together to get our kids back to school, preserve our local economy, and keep Bismarck safe, strong, and resilient. A community task force has been launched to slow the spread of COVID-19 in our community. We're all in this together. Protect yourself and others by doing your part. Wear a mask when you're out and about, and slow the spread of COVID-19. For more information, visit health.nd.gov/coronavirus.
Welcome back to Down the Road with me, Joel Heitkamp. It is election night, and one of the states that everybody's really looking to, and it's been on the radar for a while now. Everybody thought it wasn't going to be in play in this presidential race, and then everybody thought it wasn't going to be in play when it comes to the U.S. Senate race, and then all of a sudden it's, whoa, wait a second. The nation's eyes turn to Iowa. And next thing you know, presidential candidates and vice presidential candidates are saying, we got to head to Iowa. We got to talk to some folks. Aaron Lehman is our guest now. He is president of the Iowa Farmers Union. Aaron, good to have you on Down the Road.
Well, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Give me a pulse. What are you seeing in Iowa?
Well, everything indicates that we're having some very, very close races here, of course, on the presidential side and the Senate side, but also the 4 congressional races are going to be very close as well.
Yeah, the congressional races in Iowa kind of shocked people 2 years ago. I mean, yeah. the Democrats picked up seats, and I think there was only one congressional seat. How many is there in Iowa, period?
We have 4.
Okay, and only one left that was Republican in what is usually a pretty red state.
Absolutely, and the one Republican was Steve King, and he narrowly escaped the last election against J.D. Schulten, a former pitcher at Nebraska, at the University of Nebraska, and a real grassroots phenomena, and he nearly pulled off the upset. Steve King later got beat in the primary earlier this year. So we have no incumbent in that seat, no incumbent in the Southeast Iowa seat, and first-termers in the Northeast Iowa seat and the Southwest Iowa seat. So 4 hotly contested races.
My guess is the Republican Party in Iowa is pretty happy to get rid of Steve King. I mean, this is a guy that, nobody leaned over his shoulder to see what the answer was. I mean, Steve King wasn't exactly a deep thinker.
Well, but he had a certain ability to work his district in such a way that he rarely had contested races. But most people are giving credit to his defeat in the primary to J.D. Schulten, who ran against him 2 years ago.
Yeah, scared him. Scared
Yes.
him a lot and brought out some things that needed to be brought out. I want to talk a little bit about, your absentee ballot voting. I realize COVID has driven a lot of this. I know it did in my state as well. That being said, Iowans just kind of turned out when it comes to absentee voting.
Absolutely. Record numbers. We had record numbers in the primary. And yes, there was some contesting of the process in the legislative session. But despite that, we've seen a record number of absentee ballots are already submitted.
Now, Aaron, when we'll get to Joni Ernst in just a little bit, but here's my fear. You come from a rural state. I come from a rural state. You're president of the Iowa Farmers Union, which means every day you get up and you fight on behalf of farmers, which, you know, good for you. I mean, there isn't enough people out there doing that. But is there starting to get this separation? Where the Democratic Party has become this urban party, and we've lost sight of the rural areas in the Democratic Party, in my party.
Well, you know, there's an old saying in Iowa, and I don't know if it's true or not, but that rural Iowa has been neglected by one party and exploited by the other party. And, you know, and I don't know if that's true, but, you know, past statewide campaigns in Iowa have not valued rural Iowa properly. Just the amount of attention to rural issues and the campaigns themselves didn't make for competitive races in rural Iowa. And I think that there have been some lessons learned from our past statewide campaigns, to where there has been quite a bit more attention paid to rural Iowa issues. And I think that's showing up so far in some really critical debates that have happened during both the Senate campaign and the congressional campaigns.
Well, what time do the polls close in Iowa?
They're going to close at 9 o'clock.
Oh, really? So
yes.
They run that late.
Yes.
So the absentee ballots, do they get counted right away? I know they had to be in Iowa by a certain date. We're not looking at as though they can't come in 5 days from now, right?
Correct. They can come in slightly late, but no, not that long. And so we might not get a full answer by the end of the evening in Iowa, because we might have some absentee ballots yet to count.
Well, let's talk about that, because, you know, one of the key Senate races that the Democrats are looking to as though they might be able to win is that race in Iowa. There's a lot of people who believe that Joni Ernst can be beat. True or not?
Yeah. Well, it's absolutely true. And you wouldn't have guessed that in 2 years ago. She had tied her ship pretty closely to President Trump's ship, and she was not expected to have a tightly contested race. There were some Democrats who did not join the race early on, but Teresa Greenfield, who has not held political office before, a Central Iowa businesswoman, has run a very strong campaign, and the race is tight by all measures. And the amount of attention paid to the Iowa race has just been phenomenal. It is the second highest amount of spending of any Senate race in the country. That's the second highest amount of Senate spending in the history of our country has been here in Iowa. Almost $250 million have been spent on this Senate race.
That's just amazing. When you look at the undecided votes and you break that down into the total amount of dollars spent, you know, just give me the money. I'll buy a new fishing boat. I know it's illegal to buy votes, but heck, I could probably buy a new camper with that as well.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, you consider that the highest amount is North Carolina, and in that race, another very hotly contested race, they have 3 times as many people. $250 million gets you a lot of advertising in Iowa.
So Joni Ernst, how big of a hit was it for Joni Ernst when she couldn't tell you what a bushel of soybeans was worth? She not only got it wrong, but she was even off on wheat, if that's what was in her head a little bit. How did farmers react to that?
Well, I think there was a lot of eye rolling, because not only did she miss the answer, when she tried to correct herself, she missed the answer, and her opponent nailed it. She had no problem answering her question about commodity prices and what impact it's been having on the farm economy. She knocked it out of the park. And normally you might say, well, the price of commodities on a given day. But Senator Ernst has kind of touted herself as a down-to-earth rural reformer. She made the big comment 6 years ago, you know, that she had experienced castrating hogs.
I was going to go there. I was so going to go there. I was going to bring up the fact that she knew how to castrate hogs. You know, that made nationwide news.
Sure. And so she's cast herself as a very down-to-earth reformer and Washington outsider, and that just really shed a lot of light on how far removed she's become from a lot of rural Iowa issues.
So who wins that race? Do you have a prediction?
I think it's going to be tight all the way down to the end. You know, the polls, the averaging of the polls has given Greenfield a lead, but the latest Iowa poll, which is a very well-respected poll, had Ernst slightly ahead.
Okay.
I will watch this race really closely and the president's race really closely because I think they're closely tied together.
I have 30 seconds left, Aaron. So talk to me about the president's race in a quick way. Can Joe Biden win Iowa?
He can. Watch 31 counties in Iowa that switched from Obama to Trump. 31 out of 99. A lot of those could be switching back tonight. That'll be a good indicator of what's going to happen in Iowa at both the presidential race and the Senate race.
Well, Aaron, your problem is we got your cell phone now. And so we're going to call again, and we may call and find out how it all went once we know the results. But you're right. Iowa is going to be, the nation's eye is going to be on Iowa. That's one of the states that all the procrastinators are going to be looking at. So I appreciate you coming on down the road.
It's a pleasure to be here.
You bet. It is election night, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of results going to be coming in. You got to stay tuned in. You'll get a lot of that here. But I will tell you this. Some comments, some ideas, some things about Election Day and where I think this nation is going right after this.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Introducing Accord Comfort Sleep Systems, a better way to sleep. We offer you 5 different models to give you the perfect choice of support and body comfort. Every model begins with our exclusive Accord Comfort Reflex Layer. This ensures proper spinal alignment and a deep down body relief. Our 8-inch Whisper Breeze provides a medium firm feel, and our 10-inch Gentle Night model has a quilted top, giving you a medium plush comfort. Both use Outlast fabric on the top of your mattress, ensuring that your body temperature is not too hot and not too cold. Our Copper Rest Sleep Series is our premier mattress, offering your choice of firm, plush, and luxury plush. Every model uses copper-infused gel latex and provides all the health benefits of copper. Accord Comfort mattresses are handcrafted in the USA and come with a 60-night sleep guarantee. You're going to love sleeping with us. Order today exclusively at accordsleep.com or Tom's Home Furnishings in beautiful downtown Harvey.
You're looking for secure private cloud storage, but who can you trust? Big tech companies don't always keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business information away from prying eyes. Your local Beck Lightband Internet Services comes with 50 gigs of Beck Cloud Backup free. Hometown service with top-tier security to keep your data truly safe and private. Get your 50 gigs free today. Call 701-475-2361 and ask about Beck Cloud Backup.
My name is Rich Shook, and I lost my best friend in a grain bin accident. Some of the emotional scars that when these incidences happen just resonates throughout the community like dropping a rock in a pond. I guess I'll never forget. At least the last moments we shared. That's why I think this is so important to get out there to people, is people think that it can't happen to you, and it can. The time it would take you to just kiss a loved one, and your life is over. I believe it's unacceptable.
This message provided by North Dakota Farmers Union.
Welcome back to Down the Road. Just one segment here left that I get to visit with you. Some of the early results are coming in, and so we're starting to see some trends. Now, don't get married to this. Don't just sit there and say, oh, okay, that one tells me exactly what's happening. These are just trends. Some precincts are coming in, but Florida so far is going Joe Biden's way, albeit by a small number. Joe Biden, as we sit right now, is at 50.9%. Donald Trump at 48.3%. Now, one of the things you got to keep in mind about this is there was a lot of early voting, and in that early voting, it usually breaks on the Democratic side. So if you're Donald Trump and you're looking at some of those numbers, you're asking, okay, what county? What county, what part of the state? What are we looking at there? Now, Georgia, another state where many Democrats wondered why we're even campaigning in Georgia. It has been a solid red state in presidential races for a long time. Again, don't get excited because you don't know what precincts are reporting. You don't know which counties have turned in those votes. But if you look at it right now, Joe Biden is ahead. And Joe Biden is ahead with 54% to 44, give me a point or two on the decimal. Now, that is with 111,000 votes. There's going to be a whole lot more votes cast in Georgia. But understand as well what I was trying to tell you about, where things sit with the early voting. There was a lot of early voting, and a lot of people on the Democratic side voted early. Now, there's certain states that Donald Trump, in his path to victory, looked at and said, okay, if I win New Hampshire, if I win Minnesota, and I win Nevada, these are states that I can pick up that last time went for Hillary Clinton. These are electoral votes that I can get. Watch those states tonight. In fact, one of those states is starting to come in now and is leaning in New Hampshire. That state is right now, Joe Biden is at 65.2, early results, not many numbers behind it, and Donald Trump at 32%. Don't get married to those numbers, ladies and gentlemen. Those are just early numbers. I'm going to say this to you again. Those early numbers don't represent where all of the state is going. You can get a town, an area, a county that votes a certain way, and that's the one that reports early, and you're like, oh, man, well, don't get married to it. I want to tell you this. The pathway for Donald Trump to win is it's narrower than Joe Biden's. It really is. When Donald Trump had to fight for Florida, when he had to fight for Georgia, when he had to fight for Texas, those are states that he should be able to look at and say, you know what, I got those. Those are in the can. What we need to do is focus on Michigan. We need to focus on Wisconsin. We need to focus on Pennsylvania. And he did at the end. I mean, Donald Trump was just this road warrior. I mean, he was in his plane going to a rally here and a rally there, and he can fill up an air hangar, right? Every airport hangar that he went to had a whole lot of people at it. Now, you can't deny that. I think that the Democrats kind of downplay that and poo-poo it. I don't know a Democrat in the world that wouldn't want to have crowds like that, but not at a time of COVID. Not at a time of COVID. I will say this as well. Mariano Rivera, do you know who that is? Mariano Rivera is the best closer Major League Baseball had in years, period. Yeah, he's a New York Yankee, and yes, I'm a New York Yankee fan. But Mariano Rivera is Barack Obama in this race. Barack Obama went out and he spoke and he lit up the crowds. And you know what? He had the horns honking so loud that the neighbors were probably calling the cops. I mean, Barack Obama is the man that Joe Biden brought in to help him close this race out. We're going to find out how it goes tonight. A couple of things. If you see Georgia, go to Joe Biden. If you see Florida, go to Joe Biden. Go to bed. I mean, go to bed. Those are states that Donald Trump absolutely has to win. So, know it. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be talking about it right here on Down the Road. Until then, it's good riding with you.